What's up guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Morphine, and today we're jumping into my first video of the no life that I've been putting all my time into, and that's WoW Ascension. Foolishly, I've been spending all my hard-earned gold on enchantments recently trying to theorycraft a build, and if you know who I am, then you know I freaking love theory crafting. And after a lot of failed projects, I finally came to a conclusion that clicked very well, and that outcome would shape up to be my offhand Lava Lash fire hybrid build. So how does the build work? We start by focusing on building straight AP for great melee damage while also converting our AP over to spell power using talents. In addition, we grab all the offhand damage talents in the rogue and warrior trees to help boost the damage of Lava Lash. Make some crazy melee haste and some fire damage, and we got ourselves a build. The build works fantastically well in solo and AoE situations, and has a heavy amount of burst damage while sustaining solid melee hits, while our main fire damaging abilities are on cooldown. The makeup of this build, if you couldn't tell, revolves around Lava Lash when paired with the Molten Earth enchantment, will increase our bonus spell power by 10% of our total attack power. With the Mental Quickness talent and enchantments, we get a total of 62% of our attack power being converted over to spell power, while our main stat is strength. Our supporting skills include Storm Strike for extra damage ability, Flame Shock for adding a dot to the rotation to help spread damage. I also picked up Whirlwind for an extra attack to mix into our AoE rotation while our fire abilities are on cooldown. Whirlwind is a nice filler, especially when Flame Tongue is on our weapon, adding in 2 decent damaging sources to one AoE attack that keeps the damage flowing. Speaking of AoE, I grabbed Magma Totem, which should be left up at all times, even in a single target fight, so long as nothing is CC'd. I paired this with Fire Nova, which can be used in a single target scenario since its damage is very good and works well in the downtime of the rotation. Since we have a few extra ability points to spend, I ended up taking Flame Blast as an extra filler, just in case when everything is on cooldown and there's nothing left to cast. Lastly and most importantly, we'll take Flame Tongue Weapon for extra spell power per weapon enchant and adding fire damage proc per attack. Moving on to the utility, I grabbed Slice and Dice for extra melee haste that fits well into the build, Battle Shout to increase our attack power that will funnel its way into spell power, Innervate, Life Tap, and Seal of Wisdom as a way to gain mana back, Mark of the Wild and Blessing of Kings to add stats, and Bloodlust for increased damage in the depth of the boss fight. Lastly, we'll grab Divine Shield and Holy Light for those I'm about to die moments. Now that we got our abilities out of the way, let's dive into our talent tree. Starting off with the Warrior tree, I took Dual Wield Specialization to increase our offhand weapon damage by 25%, which will increase Lava Lash's overall damage. This talent will also help with our hits as a whole. Just below, I grabbed Rampage as a quick one-pointer to increase our melee crit by 3%. Moving on to the Elemental Shaman tree, we start by taking Call of Flame to increase our Magma Totem and Fire Nova's damage by 30%, while also reducing the mana cost as well. Next, we'll grab Elemental Fury to increase our critical strike damage with our fire spells by 100%. Improved Fire Nova to increase its damage by 20%, and reducing the cooldown by 4 seconds, which will help speed up the pace of the rotation. Last, in the Elemental Tree, I take Lava Flows to increase basically all of our fire crit damage by 25%, and Flame Shocks now increase our melee haste by additional 6%. Moving into the Enhancement Shaman tree, we take Elemental Weapons to help increase the spell damage for Flame Tongue Weapon by 60%. Next, we'll grab Flurry to increase our melee haste by 15% for our next 3 swings when we get a melee crit, which we should be doing all the time. Jumping down to Spirit Weapons that increases our damage of Flame Tongue's effect by 30% and increases Lava Lash's bonus damage by 15%. We'll grab Dual Wield Specialization that increases our hit chance by 3% and increasing our fire damage by 6% when we hit with our offhand weapon. Empowered Storm Strikes to help it deal 30% additional damage and doing a small extra damage as nature per second when we attack after we use Storm Strike. Obviously, we're going to grab Storm Strike and Lava Lash next. We'll grab Improved Storm Strike to grant us 15% of our base mana once we use it, and giving us a nice 10% fire damage increase when we use Storm Strike. Last and most importantly, we'll grab mental quickness, which is the bread and butter of the build, which will convert 40% of our attack power to spell power since our main stat is strength. After that, we're going to pop over to the combat rogue tree to take another dual wield specialization to further increase our offhand damage by 50%. We'll move further down depending on what weapon you choose. Now here is where the tree will vary for you. Currently, I dual wield Drake Fire Hammers, so I ended up taking Mace specialization for the 10% melee haste. Now, if you're running swords or axes, you could take Hack and Slash instead. However, this will add an RNG element into your build, but will give you a 6% chance to hit twice after swinging with your weapon. It's a nice talent to take, but I chose to opt out of it since I'm not keen on RNG, especially coming from Classic, which is entirely all up to luck. But choosing Hack and Slash will free up 2 talent points, which gives you the freedom to put anywhere you'd like. If you want a recommendation, I'd either toss them in Booming Echoes and the Shaman Elemental Tree to give Flame Shock 20% increased damage, or you can grab Firepower in the Mage Tree to give the entire build a 4% damage increase. It is entirely up to you what you'd like to do. Next, we're going to head over to the Subtlety Tree and take Honor Amongst Thieves for the 3% critical strike chance for spells and attacks, but also that free combo points when using spell and abilities to activate Slice and Dice on the go. Moving on to the Paladin Protection Tree, I took Divine Strength to help boost our overall damage of the build by 6%. Strength is the lifeblood of the build after all, and getting Divine Strength is pretty necessary. And finally, to top off the talent section of the build, we'll move into the Mage Tree and grab Critical Mass to give our fire spells a 6% increased critical strike chance. So with all that digested, let's move on to the enchantments. Starting off with our legendary enchantment, Molten Earth, which we've already mentioned, but Molten Earth is a fantastic enchantment and will help spread AoE damage while also giving us that 10% spell power to attack power. Our epic enchants, however, are just as important. Taking up Warming Up or Kindle for the Flame, both are viable options for the build that will increase our damage by 10%. I've tested both and both have pretty much the same impact on the build, so it's entirely up to you which one you'd like to take. We'll grab Counterpoise, which helps our melee haste by 3% since we'll always be above 50% rage. Last in the list of epic enchantments, we'll take Fired Up, which gives us a 12% chance to crit guaranteed for our next fire ability to be a crit. If you take this, especially with Flame Shock or Fire Nova, it will look nice on the DPS sheet if you time it correctly. Moving on to the rare enchantments, we take Elemental Devastation to help proc Flurry by giving us a 3% critical chance when critting with the spell. Dual Wield Specialization for an additional 5% damage for Lava Lash. We'll take 3 elemental weapons to increase the passive effect of Flame Tongue by 60%. We'll grab Lava Flows to increase our bonus critical damage of Flame Shock and Lava Lash by 8%. We'll grab 3 Voodoo Powers to increase Lava Lash's damage by 21% of our bonus spell power, Lava Rush to have Lava Lash proc a 5% melee haste buff, and 3 Mental Quickness to help our strength to spell power conversion by an additional 6%. I've tested this with the various bunch of enchantments, but these definitely fit better for the build as a whole. I would also try to keep a piece of gear handy with Overheat on it, just in case you're in a boss fight where the boss has a lot of moving mechanics. Overheat would be a good replacement for Molten Earth in those types of scenarios. So let's talk damage rotation. Once we fully buffed ourselves, we'll charge into melee range and immediately throw down our totems. During the charging animation, use Battle Shout to finish out our buffs. We'll then strike the target with Lava Lash to start our Molten Earth damage over time proc, soon following by a Flame Shock to have its damage over time on the target as well. Afterwards, we can then use a quick Slice and Dice to increase our attack speed, followed by a Storm Strike, then finishing off with a Fire Nova. Make sure to use Lava Lash as soon as it comes off cooldown, and keep your Magma Totems up at all times. That way you can keep its damage going and allow you to use Fire Nova when it comes off cooldown as well. Make sure to keep an eye on your buffs, and when Slice and Dice falls off, to refresh its buff. If you're running low on mana, make sure to use Innervate first to put it on cooldown. And that's basically it. You'll use the same rotation for single target as you would for AoE. Although in an AoE fight, you can meld in a Whirlwind in the rotation when both Fire Nova and Lava Lash is on cooldown. For gear, all you'll need to focus on is getting as much strength on each piece as you can possibly get. Ensure that your hit capped and any haste items is very nice. You'll need to make sure that there is a slow, heavy hitting weapon in your offhand so Lava Lash can do its utmost damage potential. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoy setting fire to everything that comes in your way, and hopefully this build will elevate your damage to another level. If you have any questions or need advice on the build, make sure to drop me a comment down below. In the video description, I'll put a direct area to where you can find the build in the build loader of your character advancement sheet. Make sure to give the build a thumbs up if you enjoyed the guide, and make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. As always, my name is Morphine, and thanks for being a part of the addiction.